Welcome to Coffee and Tequila. I'm here with my mom. We're here to talk about The Handmaid's Tale. I'm actually really bummed out because we didn't pick up on this a while ago. We've been watching since the very beginning too, and we could have been talking about the show every single season, every single year that it comes out, but we haven't. So we're going to start with season 5, and if it goes well enough, we're going to be talking about it every week, every episode that comes out, and if it goes well enough, then we will go into. I guess we'll restart it and we'll rewatch everything. What the hell is that cat doing?
From the beginning.
You want me to tell y'all what happens with her and this damn household? Is any sort of stray that they find just ends up in their house and ends up living there.
He was going to die, though. Aaron brought him home from work, and he was orphaned. His mom was gone, and it was thunderstorm, and she found him in a drain pipe. So she brought him home, and his little tail is broke.
His tail's all broken too. They show up messed up, like their ass has been kicked on the streets. That's how they got Key. Daisy was rescued. Key just wandered into their garage with a freaking gash in the side of her, and they're like, "Oh well, we're not gonna keep her. We're just gonna hold on to her." This one shows up. We're not gonna keep him. We're just gonna hold on to him, and then he's in the house now.
Well, he went to the vet. She took him to the vet the next day after she brought him home, and. I mean, what are you going to do?
What's his name?
Mark Sloan.
Brando's going to be terrified. Brando.
Well, he's going to make Brando paranoid because you never know where he's at. And he's crazy and he's not afraid.
Brando is terrified of cats because of their damn cat. Because of Key, because she's mean as shit, and she'll perch up on top of the fireplace, and when he walks in the room, Brando now looks at all of her spots to see if she's there, and now he's never gonna have a moment of peace in the house. Okay, well, yeah, so we're gonna be talking Handmaid's Tale season 5 today. I don't know what was I guess since there's already 2 episodes out, they usually release 3, right? But we got 2 this time, so we're going to package them in kind of as one episode. We're not really going to differentiate them because I don't really remember where episode 1 ends and 2 begins. Already, it kind of already sits in the same episode for me. But what did you think of the premiere?
Well, I thought it was really good. It's always really good. I wasn't disappointed like always. I just think it's just, we're looking at a whole different, I don't know, a whole different Handmaid's Tale now.
Yeah.
It's just a whole different thing. We're not in Gilead trying to get out anymore. Now we're probably trying to get back in. We're
going to be going back in. That's what we're going to do. Somebody needs to lock her ass in a closet because she's going to go back, and I know it.
Well, she is going to go back, but I don't think in this episode, at the beginning, in the first episode, I don't really think that her intention was necessarily to go back. I think she's just trying to process life. Yeah. And process what she did and what happened. And I don't think going back is in the forefront of her mind yet. But by the end,
we'll get there too. Yes, it's in her mind now. It's in her mind now. But the last season, I feel because she escaped last season, right? She finally got out. I thought she was going. I just every moment last season, I was like, okay, this is the moment where they take her back to Lydia. She's gonna wake up in Lydia's house or something.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it. I'm glad they actually got her out. We got to see her processing, kind of being out, not really being able to process it, really being shell shocked by the whole ordeal. And that was sort of the beginning. And I'm a little unclear time-wise when these, or I guess I'm not, because it takes place immediately after the finale of the last season's episode. So it must not be. I think people are forgetting that this is maybe a couple months max that she's been out of Gilead. I don't even think that long.
Well, here's what I was thinking. Because I was thinking about this. We have to look at it in terms of Serena's pregnancy. Because Serena found out she was pregnant.
See, that's a woman thinking. That's the woman's thing. I'm not thinking in terms of trimesters.
We definitely see baby bump, but I don't know I don't remember it actually saying how far along she was. So it's been a few months. However, it's not been a few months from the season finale to this one because June has blood all over her. So, I mean, it's all still very new.
Season 4 finale was freaking wild, man. They corner Commander Waterford in
Yep.
no man's land. All of June has like gathered the handmaids, and they like beat the shit out of him. You know,
Yep. Tear him apart.
they tear him apart, and we really see the aftermath of that in this episode because we actually see his body in this one. And it was also wild
Right.
because this is the first time we're really like getting rid of or I guess we've had characters die before, but not a character that's been this important.
Pivotal. Yeah.
Like he was a main cast member, right? And like he's like out of the show now. I'm sure we're gonna
Right.
get like flashbacks and stuff like that, but it's
Yeah.
still wild and that they actually did that, and what a like moment of catharsis for them, even though it's like super savage, right? It's like primal animal instinct how they rip him to shreds.
Yeah.
And then we pick up in this episode and she's like, I thought she was gonna wash blood off of her. She doesn't.
She didn't. And so
Yeah.
it starts that she's going to, and then I just think that, I don't know. I've never ripped somebody apart, so I don't really know what that feels like, but she didn't just murder someone.
Yeah.
She savagely murdered someone who caused her lots of pain, took her family from her, kept her prisoner, took her child, put her through a lot, and the
not
hate
only
that
that,
she
it's
has
like-
for him
Yeah, and
definitely
it's
showed.
he's like a whole root for her too of that
Right.
whole system, right? Like
Right.
he's so integral in that system, and so her getting to do that was very personal for her, but also for the rest of them, it was personal because that is the root of like that system.
Right.
So they all did that. June is like washing blood off of her, and she's I guess she's just going through like I think she has injuries on her like fingernails and stuff. I think she like ripped him to shreds so hard that she has like injuries on her, and so she's wiping those. But then she's like in this. I was watching the inside the episode for it, and they said that she's like in a euphoric state for this whole episode.
Yeah, and I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. She's like in a euphoric state where she's just kind of like, it's almost like 3 a.m. manic kind of,
Yes.
running around is what she's feeling.
Well,
and so
she was going to wash herself, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden she ends up at the diner with her friends, and the Dolly
Yeah.
Parton music is playing, and I was just kind of like,
I was just blown away. I was stressed because this show never stops making me stressed. I'm like, evidence.
Yeah.
There's blood on that cup. The waitress has now seen them all.
Yes.
They're all just eating breakfast. And I'm like, this is not going to go well. We're going to have a trial. I don't want this whole season to be a trial. I would
Right.
rather not,
Right.
But then the show always like turns itself over and like onto its own head. And so they all kind of just like eat in silence and don't really talk to each other and just kind of like, ooh, I don't know. It's like that. You get hungry after murder, I guess, right?
Well, she makes the comment. What was the comment that she made? Food tastes
Oh, I don't even remember.
better
It was
with Fred dead, or something like that.
I felt like her. I felt like I was in this state of shock also. Okay.
And and actually that's what I think it was. I think
Yeah.
it was kind of shock. I think
It
she was in
was,
shock because she didn't clean up. She had the same clothes on. She's covered in blood, Fred's blood.
hmm
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just, there was no time to process any sort of emotion. That was like not even in the question, right? Like
Right,
she has
right.
not even slept, right? So she
Right.
is wired, even just naturally, her body is just wired.
Right.
And then like one of the handmaids pulls up with a bunch of guns in the trunk and like
I
hands her a
know.
gun. And I'm like, is June about to become a mob boss? Like
Well-
what is happening here?
I know it was kind of bizarre. It was kind of bizarre when they hand her and then
Yeah.
you took a picture of the screen and sent it to
I
me.
said,
and
what is happening?
June is going to be a mob boss. But that was actually I think that was a pretty important part
Yes.
of the episode, because now all of the people that helped her ravage Fred are all kind of hyped up and
They want
euphoric as
theirs.
well.
They want their piece of
Yes.
flesh now.
And
you
so
know?
they're like, we did yours, now it's time for you to help us do ours. And she's like, maybe not.
Yeah, and it's not even like, I think there's like moments throughout this episode where she kind of comes into her senses a little bit
Right.
again, but then
Yeah.
like completely starts unraveling again because she's
Right.
at this moment is like, no.
Mhm.
No, and obviously it's like too soon, but like these other women are so hyped up on Juice that they're like, let's fucking
Right.
go. We're gonna take down the entire fucking like everybody's commanders,
Right.
you know, and rightfully so, right? Like she got her pound of flesh. They deserve theirs as well. They do.
Well,
I don't know
that's
how
been a
we're gonna
thing
lure
throughout-
everybody in no man's land, but
well, that's been a thing throughout the whole show. And you and I've kind of talked about it a little bit, is that at times we felt like she was kind of selfish, but not, I didn't really view her as selfish. It's just that I knew that's how she appeared to people, as selfish, because she wanted what she wanted that benefited her. Yeah. But at this point, it kind of shows that they want her help to do theirs, and she's just kind of like, I don't know.
Well, and I think selfishness
is also probably hard to realize now this is what I've done, even though she loved it. I don't know how to explain.
Well, I think you're doing a good job of explaining, but I would even argue that June is selfish. Like, we've seen that June is selfish. I think that's what makes her a nuanced character. It's sort of like the Carrie Bradshaw of it all, where Carrie Bradshaw never did this to Big, but Carrie Bradshaw is a very selfish character in that show, right? But like now we're in a sort of age where everybody's like ripping her to shreds, acting like she was some big villain of the show when she wasn't a villain. She was just a nuanced person with like a well-rounded person who had her own flaws and was not a perfect person. June is not a perfect person. June is a resistance fighter. June is strong. June is all of these great things, but June is also a human being who is selfish, who has to, in this world, look out for herself, has always had to look out for herself and her own. And I don't think that makes her a bad person at all. And it really irks me when people, start tearing her apart for these human traits that she holds, right? And this is a selfish move, and we can realize that, we can recognize that, and we can also be like, well, I also see where they are all coming from, and they deserve theirs as well,
well, then she kind of orchestrated all of it. She, even though she was selfish, she orchestrated a lot throughout the whole series, and probably if not for her, we wouldn't be where we are anyway. So what were your thoughts on Moira? What were your thoughts on her in this episode?
So June is just running around wired, right? And then she ends up back at the house where she's kind of like, she's starting to have her come down. And Moira is there, and they all see her. She's already seen June today, and June like got in the car and took off, and like I think Moira is completely in the right here, and I think June knows that, right? Because again, June is not just, June recognizes that this is like wild and this is insane, and whether it's justified, I think that goes up to anybody's personal opinion or not. But Moira's like, because the baby's kind of being raised by everybody at this point, right? Nicole is like a community baby. I don't think June is able to be a mother at this point, and June knows that. And I really like that June said that as well. Like, take her, but I think Moira is completely in the right here. I think Moira is like, calm your ass down. Because she wasn't. Moira was a handmaid as well, right? But she chose not to take that route. She chose not to do all of that, because there are the handmaids who are just, they want the revenge and they deserve the revenge. But then there are the handmaids that are like, let me just move on. I need to try as much as I can to move on. And both are right. Both avenues are correct, right? There is no wrong there. I don't know. What were you thinking? Were you mad at her?
A little bit. I mean, a little bit I was. I understand where she was coming from, and I do think she was right. But there was times when I felt a little bit upset with her, because I feel like everyone is like, okay, June, it's time to move on. Yeah. And it's time to get better now, and let's raise this baby and let's live life as best we can. And I know, so for her, maybe it appears that everyone's doing really well, where she's struggling so bad. But there was the scene in the kitchen where they had sat down, they were going to play the game.
Oh, with Rita?
Yes. And they go in the kitchen, and she kind of starts poking at Rita, like, remember that time. And finally Rita said, look, maybe I wasn't a handmaid, but I still struggle with this every single day. And the look in June's face, it was kind of like, okay, I'm sorry. And she did apologize. I thought that was I thought that was a big scene right there.
Well, it was also a scene that bounced off of last season. Remember when they were having those group meetings, and June was like constantly poking at people, and like, I don't think June is like, again, she's just a well-rounded character where we see that she is not able to perfectly understand that everybody should be having the same feelings that she has, right? And she also, I don't think any of them kind of recognize yet that she does have a different experience than all of them. She just does, right? Like she is the special one because she was like leading these resistance things. She did like orchestrate that whole plane. She did like, she was the one fighting when everybody was telling her to stop. Like just go along with it and you will be fine, you know? And she had moments where she was broken down and she was like, okay, I just go along with it. But then she like couldn't. And so she put herself through more than any of them could have gone through, right? Like Moira got out, and if that is the way Moira needs to go forward, that's fine. But I think there will come a time of reckoning where Moira does realize, hey, what's swirling in your head is like maybe a couple times more than what's swirling in my head, right? But these people, they're just like, I think that's what I love about the show so much, is that we're seeing just the way different people are dealing with this almost the same shared trauma, but in their different ways.
And that's the thing about trauma, is everyone responds differently. Everyone responds to trauma in a different way. And no one person experiences it or feels it the exact same way. Even the same incident could affect me and you completely different.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of what's going on.
And we're not a perfect society, right? When somebody comes in, if we have like a shared trauma, a shared sort of experience, and I'm handling it one way and you come into my bubble handling it in your way, and I think that is disruptive, I'm going to be a little bit like defensive and hostile towards that. It's just natural. That's just natural, because I'm like, well, why don't you just like calm down? Like, why can't you just like be like, look at your husband, look at your daughter, look at like, you're here, you're safe. But in all actuality, like I can't expect you to think that way just because that's how I've decided to do it.
Right. And then it's just, she's got a lot of things. I mean, there's just a lot of things that she's got inside her head, a lot of experiences and thoughts and emotions that she hasn't shared with everyone. And she has all these little triggers, like the Scrabble game was a trigger for her. I remember that episode too. But that was a trigger for her that no one in there knows. You know, it's just, I don't know. And as much as I know she loves Nicole, Nicole is a constant reminder of what happened and what she went through. But I just think that June, at this point in time, June's just not capable. I think we'll see if she were to get Hannah out and Gilead maybe go down, then we could see what kind of healing she could have. But I don't think she's going to be able to have healing until it's just.
At what point though? At what point? I don't think there is a point that June is able to have healing. Like there will always be something else that June, if she accomplishes something, she feels like she can accomplish a little bit further, right? That is just June's personality. That's her mindset. I don't think she will have peace. I actually really enjoyed that. Like it seems like we may sideline June a tiny bit during the season and kind of focus on other stories as well. So Alexis Bledel is also not coming back, which was disappointing. And I'm hoping it wasn't of her pay, because the statement that she released about it was a little like, I wasn't being paid enough, so I didn't come back for it. So I hope that's not it, because she's been like nominated for awards and stuff for this. Like this is a big role for her.
Yeah, I was sad about that, because I really like her, period. In everything that she's in. But I don't know. I know she's gone, but they can't just, I mean, she's got to be referenced again at some point. Did she go back into Gilead and we're going to eventually find out she died? I mean, do you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm hoping that they don't do. And I feel like if they were going to do that route, if they were just going to kill her, they'd have said suicide or something like that. Right. It would have been like that. Like she died off camera somehow. And I really appreciate that they left the door open for her. And that not only that, they don't do this with characters. So this is a really big deal. That when they usually write characters off, they send them into the world or they kill them, and it's just kind of left like that. They don't give them a plot point. So they gave her a plot point that she went back in. First of all, when they said she went back into Gilead, I'm like, she's going to be a handmaid again? Like, no.
But I didn't understand, like, why would she? What would be the point of her going back into Gilead?
So they said she's going after Lydia. She wants it. So that is a huge plot point that they have now bestowed upon that character. And maybe in the hopes that she'll come back, or maybe with the understanding that she'll come back another season or something. But they don't do that with characters in these shows. These characters don't get like a big storyline like that to go and just never fulfill. So I'm hoping that like that's going to be Lydia's. I think this is the foreshadowing that will be Lydia's downfall. It will be, and it should be her. I think out of anybody, because everybody has their little piece of flesh, and I think June had Commander Waterford and Serena Joy.
Right.
I think what is her name in the show? Emily. Emily deserves Lydia.
Yeah.
She deserves Lydia's head on a fucking pike. You know.
I agree.
But it was wild when it just happened because I didn't know that. I didn't see any reports that she'd
I didn't either
been out until this. And so then, I mean, and there's with PR, there's a bunch of different ways that they could.
But you know what though? If you look back at her coming into Canada and trying to live her life, she actually had a lot of struggle as well.
Yeah.
So probably I would think next to June, she appeared to struggle the most. From what we saw.
Just from what we see,
living her life. Yeah, trying to get back into her life.
And also, I do think she's been fired up a little bit by June because that's not something that, or you know what, but I wouldn't even say so. I think she always had this in her because she ran over guards, right? I don't remember what the eyes. She ran over eyes.
Right.
With a freaking car. She was in her own ways sort of a renegade herself, right? So this isn't out of character for her, and I feel like maybe she just felt like, I think some of these characters just feel like they can't settle because they have unfinished business, and this is her unfinished business, and I'm glad they sent her out to do that, and I pray to God we just pick up with that at some point. It's okay. I think next season they've announced it's supposed to be the last one. I listened to Alastair on that though, so if it's Alastair's alternative facts, then okay.
I know he didn't make this fact up like he does something.
Y'all don't believe me, but he does this sometimes. He will just invent a fact out of his head, not research, and just say it out loud.
Well, I know that I saw that season 6 was going to be the finale, and that they had renewed for season 6, and that was going to be it. And that's terrible, sad to me.
Terrible, sad, but I think it's hopefully leading into something else. Maybe this is the end of June's story, and that they can do other stories, right? They can continue that world.
Let me throw a fact out there real quick. I don't know if it's
Jennifer's
made up
alternative facts now. See,
I don't know if it's made up, but a friend of mine. I have a friend at work, and we talk about handmaids. We talk about a lot of things that I don't feel like I can talk with other people about at work. And so her and I sit in my office like secretly and talk about a bunch of stuff.
Oh my gosh, she thinking she in Gilead.
She told me, and I looked it up. She told me that Handmaid's Tale is actually on the banned library list.
Is it really on like
That's
different?
That's what she said.
So I know that like goes far and wide, but it's between different states, right? Like different states have their own lists and stuff like that. That is, I'm not surprised.
But
I'm not surprised.
And that's insane to me because I read that Margaret Atwood almost didn't write it because she felt like it was going to be too far-fetched.
It's like, not surprised.
Too far-fetched, and and then it's banned from the library list, and I'm like...
It's wild because we create dystopian stories to kind of like show a mirror onto society, right? And so that's what this was doing. It's not, obviously we're not living in Gilead, and like we don't have handmaids and stuff like that, but like there are definitely like pretty big chunks of truth that we're seeing today in this story. And I think the show does a really good job of kind of like highlighting those, but I'm not surprised. I would like to act shocked, but I'm not.
So that's my fact.
Yeah.
Okay, Alastair, go look it up.
I believe that one though. I would believe it. I wouldn't even need to fact check it. I don't think.
Anyway.
Luke is also like really wanting June back, right? Like he wants his family. He just is another character that just cannot even comprehend the scope of that, right? Like he has his own trauma from having to leave his family, but still he wasn't able to experience that, and so he's just kind of like helplessly watching his wife, the woman he loves, like unravel out of control, you know. And she, like, he was like a victim last season too, right? And I hope that doesn't always get swept under the rug because again, that is something that definitely should be addressed. But
I love Luke. And I
Yeah.
think he's trying his best to support her. And I actually think he's doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
I think he just has to sit back and be patient, let her spin out of control sometimes, and be that safe place for her to fall when
Yeah.
she comes back.
But then also be the voice that tells you, because he does do this, like tells you, hey, like stop. Like this part needs to stop, right? Serena Joy. Let's go into
I feel
her
like
because
we're
I
just
feel
skipping
like
a whole lot of stuff.
I've got characters listed. I
Okay.
feel like Serena Joy after June is going to be the big heavy player of this season.
Mm-hmm.
Serena Joy is now like the devil incarnate. You know, she is
Right.
back, and I think it's all motivated out of fear. She receives this like she got a finger last season, right? I didn't see her
Yep.
with the finger this season. I just saw her with the ring.
Yeah, because they gave her the ring
Okay.
and said that they had delivered the
Yeah.
finger, which just happened to be the ring finger.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and there's nuance that goes along with it. Like Serena Joy is a victim of Commander Waterford as well, right? She's a
Yes.
similar victim, not the same, but a victim nonetheless.
well, in last season, her and him were really struggling where you
Yeah.
really didn't think they were going to make it as a married couple anyway.
Mhm.
And then she turned up pregnant, and I know she wants some revenge and is somewhat sad about it, but I haven't seen like a real breakdown moment
Yeah.
from her about him dying. I mean,
I
she's
don't-
got her baby.
I think she loved
doing
him.
yoga.
Obviously, she loved him, but she was very
She did.
ready to move on. She was
Right.
ready to look out for herself, and so her reaction to Commander Waterford was a little. I was a little taken aback by it at first because I'm like, you didn't even fucking care about him. You didn't care. But the nuance of it all, you got to remind yourself the nuance. She did love him. She's carrying his child, and she's scared shitless, right?
Right.
Like June has scared her to the core now.
Well, she said that.
Yeah.
I think she's scared in a couple of ways. Number one, how's she going to be received if she goes back to Gilead? And then number two, if she stays in Canada, look what June did to
Yeah.
Waterford. So
She thinks June is, and I don't think June ever was thinking doing that to Serena Joy. Like, I
Right.
don't believe she would have gone and done that. She might,
Right.
but I don't think she was thinking that. But like Serena Joy is like, you wasn't my husband in police custody as well? Like, I'm in police custody. How are
Right.
you going to, like, she's going to come walking in here and do that to me. They show his body. His body is like, I was surprised
Yes,
at
I
his
know.
body. Like a chunk of the face missing. You saw the ribs.
Yep.
His member was gone. You know,
Yep.
it was brutal. Serena Joy is just wild to me. She annoys the shit out of me too, and I really wanted to like her for the longest time because I thought
I
her and
tried
June
to
could have
like her.
teamed up, and I really like
tried
the
to like her.
actress. Yeah, I think the
I
actress.
tried
was
to like
great.
her, but I just think that she's I don't know.
She's somebody I think with evil to her core. I think she's
Yes.
got evil at her core. In her like DNA, she's got evil, and she just is always looking out for herself. So she kind of girl bossed herself into having no rights. And then she didn't
Right.
like that she had no more rights, right? Because she was like hugely instrumental in Gilead. And then she had no
Right.
rights, and so she wanted out of it. And so she got out of it. And then now she's feeling attacked on the other side. So she's like, where does she go? Because now she's like wanting to go back and use Gilead, but can she use Gilead? She doesn't want to go back to Gilead and just live normally again, right? She wants to be like the boss of Gilead, is what it seems like. She wants to manipulate the men of Gilead to bending to her will. And I think that's a really interesting plot point, and whether she'll be able to achieve that or not.
I think she kind of a little bit she already did.
Yeah. Yeah. Because she goes back she wants a proper burial for him, right? And
Right.
this isn't just a proper burial. She doesn't really care about that. That's not her main objective. Her main objective is, one, gathering her own allies and her own troops, and two, she wants to make a very clear message to June, like, you cannot fuck
Yes.
with me.
Well, I think she was feeling a little beaten down until she walked out when they were going to take her to her new place in hiding or whatever. And there's all these Canadian women
So funny.
lined up in support of her.
Have they
which
ever
was
said,
kind
are
of
those women
insane.
allowed to just go to Gilead? Are they allowed to do that? Or is there like a block on that?
I mean, I don't know, but it was just kind of insane to me that she had the supporters that she had in Canada. Because I'm like, dude, they really know. I always still have a hard time wrapping my mind around the fact that it was okay for these people to take all of these other people, basically hold them prisoners, steal their children, and the rest of the world's not going to do anything about it. Like, we're okay. Yeah. It's okay. Y'all live like that.
I mean, I think sometimes we just suspend the disbelief. I've watched a lot of like videos about like if Hitler had won, right? If like World War II had been super successful for the German army, and a lot of the videos and a lot of the pieces I've seen really say that they probably could have conquered all of Europe and maybe even other parts of the world, but they probably wouldn't have done anything to the United States. They would have had to create some sort of truce with the United States, and vice versa. The United States would have had to just been okay with what they're doing over there. Because the United States was too much of where it's situated is too hard to kind of conquer. They have all of the land, they have all of the water and like just all of the geography stuff. And I think that's the same thing here, is that even though like Gilead is not really all of the United States, it's like broken up, right? There's a whole map of Gilead now,
right? And there's also land that Gilead doesn't have, but nobody else seems to have. So
I don't understand that.
June was able to commit
June
murder.
said, "This is June's land now. This is June Osborne world now." Okay.
And she tried to turn herself in and tried to be punished for it. And they're like, "Oh, you owe a fine." And she's like,
"That was
but
so
I don't have any money."
Hilarious.
And they said,
they're like,
"You can pay it online
with a $20 like charge fee, probably, right?" But
and
like,
she goes to Luke and she's like, "I got a fine, $88."
I think that also, like, that's another one we kind of just like glossed over a little bit, but like I think that was a big point for her, is that
for sure
the point of punishment, and that like doing a wrong deed should have some consequences, right? Because she's seeing Gilead doesn't have consequences. Nothing that they went through had consequences.
Right.
She's like, well, what if I turn bad and I'm the bad one? Do I get consequences? No, there's no consequences for me either. Is this are we just lawless here? Like, is anybody
in no man's land? You are.
Guess they said this is not the Crown's problem. Okay,
Queen
Elizabeth said, is Queen Elizabeth alive here? Is she, they're like, Queen Elizabeth said, "Good job, June. Good job." It's just weird, man. It's so interesting too. So Serena Joy goes back with Mark Twello. Is his Mark Twello?
Yeah. I think that's
his name.
Yeah, Twello.
Yeah,
which I haven't really quite figured him out yet. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying, so I'm hoping I'm going to get some more, because sometimes I don't really know what side he's on.
Because sometimes he just acts like he's wanting to be the new baby daddy for Serena Joy's baby, right? Like,
yeah, sometimes I feel like that. I don't know what's happening there, but whatever. Yeah. So she, has her wife's outfit on.
The blue, the turquoise, cerulean.
Yes, she comes off that plane, and there she is with her husband in a box. Yeah. It says head right here on this side, and they're bringing him along. But then there's all these people, and she's like, "Praise be," or whatever it is she says.
Yeah, I don't freaking know, man. It's just
Nick. Mm-hmm.
But she said, so she did say that Waterford name has power, or has respect. Yes. It deserves respect because it has power. And that was a huge indicator of where she's going this season, because she is out for power. She wants to be a figurehead of something. She created Gilead, and Gilead didn't turn out the way she wanted. She is going to remake Gilead now. That is her intention here. And I my husband just walked in with coffee. Thank you. It's a coffee. He hasn't watched the other episode, the second episode.
Oh, he hasn't?
He slept. He was sleeping.
I'm kind of over it.
What?
Leave. He's ready for it to end already.
Well, he doesn't have to watch it. He doesn't have to watch it.
He's a commander now.
Huh. You're my wife. Maybe that's why he doesn't want to watch it anymore.
Maybe. I might start wearing cerulean around the neighborhood.
He's
just walking
got his
around.
own plans.
I could get a cerulean baseball cap. So she goes back into Gilead, and she's It's so weird to me too, because I would have figured, like, she does have the women around her, like, kind of like, doting on the baby bump and stuff like that. But then Lydia
Right.
comes in, and Lydia's like a little sour to her, but she overall seems to still be in like decent standing, which is weird.
Is she? We really don't know that. Like,
Yeah.
is she, or were they being polite? I couldn't really figure it out.
Yeah.
Because they're always like that to each other anyway. They're always very proper, and you know what I'm saying?
She figures that Fred is going to get a pretty big ceremony anyway, just because of his position, and he doesn't. And so she really pushes Nick and Lawrence to do that for her. And I know Nick and Lawrence are like hiding their own asses, right? Because they facilitated his death, and so they are going to go along with whatever she says just for the time being, to kind of like lay low. Because she definitely knows it was them, right? Like, she knows it was June. She knows it wasn't nobody from Gilead.
And she knows, and she kind of sets the tone when she comes off the plane, and she looks at Nick and says, Fred always thought a lot about you. You were like a son to him. Which, like, and he's just looking kind of awkwardly, like,
so annoying. And she just annoys the shit out of me. Anytime she does her little slow talking, little like sentences, and when she's like, he deserves respect and a respectful burial. I'm like, did everybody else, did the homos who were sitting on the wall deserve a respectful burial? Because that's just not what we do in this world. I'm sorry, Serena Joy. I love when Serena Joy gets hers, but then she always gives it right back, and it fucking annoys the shit out of me. So she does convince them to, like, she doesn't convince them. Nick and Lawrence convince the rest of them to do like this big spectacle of Fred's funeral.
It was like the Queen.
Which was freaking it was kind of weird, right? That this episode is coming out now when they've probably filmed it way, way back then.
And we just watched them, do the procession on the Queen or whatever the other day. This was so similar to that. It was
similar in the let's make the distinction that it's similar in the like regimented, like very formal public spectacle of it all. But
just this huge.
Yeah. It's very it felt very like Nazi, and it felt very like North Korea.
Yeah, she did it not for Fred.
Yeah.
And not to for everyone to mourn Fred or respect. Yeah. She did it so that she is the queen of the world.
Yes.
Because what really stood out to me a lot was when, I may be jumping ahead, so we can go back. I don't have notes in front of me.
It's okay.
But one of the biggest things in the whole 2 episodes to me was this. Nick and June are having a moment when they are at the ballet, and then they're so
Luke
you remember Luke, sorry,
stop it, we're not doing this, okay? Give Luke the respect he deserves.
So remember when Serena flashes back to her and Fred dancing, and then there's Luke and June dancing, having a moment where he kind of gets June back for a little bit. You know what I mean? And then here we go.
Oh my God, I'm already getting chills.
Serena is up high. So to me, that was kind of poignant that Serena is up high and June is down here looking up at her.
So do you remember when Serena like had June on the floor and was screaming in her face, and she was higher? But then we had the reversal of that last season, and now we're back, right? This is the butting of heads between them. They are the power players in this show. They absolutely are. Serena Joy put herself in she orchestrated the entire thing. She choreographed the entire thing so that she would be centered in a very specific way, where even the coffin was like, I don't remember if the coffin was behind her or in front of her, but like she is very specifically centered that we, the world, focus on her. The camera will be on her. She is dressed like, they even said it inside the episode, they said she's dressed like the devil, and they have June dressed like the angel. I think is a little too black and white for it, but
they did do that though.
They did do that, but I still think it's a little too black and white. But like she is definitely setting herself up as like the head of this snake, right? We killed Fred. That didn't do anything to the snake. The snake is still there. It's still got the head. That's her. And I lost my shit.
Yes.
when she's standing up there, we're all seeing it, and it's now like, I guess this is like Times Square of Canada, you know,
Right,
whatever that
right.
is. Maybe that was Times Square. I don't know.
No, well, no, it's Canada. They're in Canada.
I still don't know where the like lines are now. But Serena Joy standing up there, and she brings Hannah up, and I had to like do a double take at first because I was like,
I know.
that can't be Hannah. That cannot be. And I like,
And she's
not
like,
only,
Hannah brings her flowers,
Ooh.
and it's like completely
a move.
She's saying, F you, June. I'm in power. Guess what I have? And
it just frustrates me so much because last season, wasn't she like, I apologize, June. I want to apologize to you and stuff like that. This is why June ain't going to fall for no apologetic shit from Serena Joy. And Serena Joy is the most disingenuous person ever because to dangle somebody's child in front of them is probably one of the worst things you could do, and it is so on point with her. And I will never like Serena Joy as much as I want to, because this actress is so good. The actress is so good.
Yeah, she is.
I will never like Serena Joy because of stuff like this, because not only June looks up and sees that, Luke sees it, and
right,
my heart hurt for
to
Luke.
me.
Yeah.
To me, when that happened, it was like, okay, so all of this stuff that you've talked about, all of this stuff that you've said is absolutely true, because there's my daughter and I see what she's doing now. And you know what? Bitch, let's go. Let's go.
That's what the next episode is going to be. She's going to be like, Luke, I know you're not going to like this, but I have to go back into Gilead. And Luke is like, yes, I will also go back into Gilead. And they're going to poor Moira has a baby now. She's got Nicole. She's like, what do I do with this?
Rita will help her.
I guess so. Rita loves her new little kitchen and everything. She loves her little house.
I like Rita.
I love Rita. I think Rita's great. It's just going to be like that we're setting up, and I think in this way, I'll be okay with them going back into Gilead. I really don't want them to, but we have to do it. We got to go get
I think
Hannah.
it's going to be great because he's going to go with her.
Yeah.
We're going to go get Hannah.
It's going to feel more like because I don't like it every time June just goes back and becomes a handmaid again, right? Like they just keep making her a handmaid again. So they're not going to do that this time. They're going to be like on the run, and it's going to very much be like season 1 where, do you remember when they were trying to escape Canada, Luke and June? Like, and we got like the brief glimpses of that. I think that could have been a whole season on its own, right? I feel like it's going to be more like that.
Well, in all these times that you would text me or you would say, God, June stresses me out so bad. She could have got out. She could have got out. She turned around.
Do you know why June stresses me out? Because we get this. We get like,
I know.
and then we get a voiceover at the very end that says, I am June, or something like that. And it's just like the longest stress ball. Okay, people are coming. She's staring at the camera. I'm just like, stop. So it's going to be really exciting to see where it goes forward. We also, another moment that like just like completely like just happened so quick, but I could have wept. I got really emotional. I got real misty eyed is when she's sitting on the porch and everybody's been telling her all day, like, you like calm down, June, calm down. And Tuello comes up and says, good job, or whatever he says. Because she needed the validation. She just needed it. It was the right thing for her, you know? Right. I don't say murder is always right, but an eye for an eye. And I think in this case is like, we're in a whole different world now. And this is an eye for an eye.
Well, it is a different world. She's seen so many people up on the wall. She's seen so much bloodshed. She's seen so many things. And the only way she was going to be able to end his reign was by doing that. Yeah. But so, okay. Serena goes back. She's going to have the funeral for Waterford. Mm-hmm. They all buy in. She brings Hannah out, which is awful. However, we're skipping over some really important things.
Yes.
Here.
Okay. I think I might. Yeah. Oh, Janine. Real quick, since we're already on the funeral though. Okay.
I mean, I don't
so
know.
Hannah getting brought up on there, right? Like they're gonna obviously go after Hannah. It's even the nuance gets deeper. It gets deeper. Hannah is very much adjusted and happy. It seems from what we see, is happy in that world. Right.
Well, because that's the world she knows. But now you sound like you're about to really upset me.
Certain fans, yeah.
I'm feeling triggered right now.
It's true though. It is true. Like whether that she shouldn't be there, and they should go get her because she can realize that the outside world is better and that her life will be better on the outside, right? They just have to do that. Sometimes as a parent, you just do, I'm not a mother, but as a parent, you just do something for your kid because you already know that's the best thing for your kid. And that's going to be the best thing they could do for Hannah. However, it is going to be so hard because they are going to have to kidnap her from her family, right? It is going to be a really hard scene if we see that happen. So that's going to be really hard. That's going to be real difficult to see. But yes, let's go into Janine because we pick up with Janine, and I felt broken spirited when I saw Janine because they broke her. They got her.
I know.
You know?
I know. I felt sorry for her. So I don't know. I really do believe that Aunt Lydia has a soft spot for Janine.
Yeah.
I think Aunt Lydia has a soft spot for her, but I also know that she thinks that if she treats Janine a certain way, that Janine is going to be her little eye.
Yeah.
As far as into the rest of the new handmaids, or the other handmaids. But I felt sorry for her, and I actually got tears in my eyes when she went to the Putnam's house, and her daughter came out, Angela. Charlotte.
Yeah. She's gotten to see her daughter a lot, though,
Yeah.
and I think that it could even make it even harder, right?
Yeah. But she sees her, and I think Miss Putnam expects her to go crazy and do Janine things, but instead she just says, you have a very beautiful daughter.
Yeah. Which is not Janine.
Right. But then for Miss Putnam to say, I thank God every day, and thank God for those who brought her to me. And I think Janine needed to hear that. She made her smile, and she gave her a little bit of something. Because it's awful.
It's
but
like these people
true.
are doing terrible things. They are terrible.
Right.
But like everyone, it's just, and you should generalize them because they're all playing into the same system. But each one of them is a separate human being, and they are not absent from kindness and from like feeling human feelings, right? It's just she offered her a bit of kindness, which is wonderful, and I would almost say clap for Mrs. Putnam, but we know that if Janine had said anything other than that, Mrs. Putnam would not have given her that kindness, right? Janine has to be in line in order to receive that kindness, which
because she's also
terrible.
Thinking that if Esther is received by the Putnams, she can go visit her.
Yeah.
In turn, be able to see her daughter.
Which is not going to happen. Like, it's just, she's living in this fantasy world still. She is just surviving as she can. Like, she is having to live one foot in their world and doing their things, and the other foot, like, being able to just dream of these things and these little hopes that she might be able to get, that she might be able to be Esther's walking partner or something like that, right? And then I also think she's acting super maternal and, like, protective of Esther. And, because she did escape, and she was like, she was out there, and when she got captured back, she was like, she was fighting against it, and it just really hurt me to see her like this again. And then Esther has now become a handmaid.
Oh, wasn't it cringy? The chocolate scene with Mr. Putnam?
It was cringy, the chocolate, and her age. She's still 14, 15 years old, right?
Right.
This is wild, but it just highlights their darkness.
Yeah, the way he was just like, and
she,
her the chocolate.
Esther is not in any way trained the way they're wanting her to be trained. She has learned to like do the steps, and she's still in her mind thinking like, what's the way out of here? And she had June before as her example of like somebody the resistance fighter, right? And she expected that from Janine as well,
right? And she's been a wife before,
and she's not getting it from June or from Janine, and now she's like, this is like bullshit, right? Like this is crazy. And it's
she's
just
like, I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Come on, June. Look what I did, June. That's what. That was weird to me. I had actually dozed off. I was watching it and I kind of dozed off, and then I woke up to them like with blood all in their mouth, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to go back and rewatch it because I didn't know what the heck happened."
So Janine. Obviously, I wonder if like Esther's gonna be dead because I could see them killing Esther. That little girl is booked and busy. And McKenna Grace, she books everything. Janine is such a big character in the show that they can. Oh no, she in the preview for the next one. She's in the. Okay, so she's alive. She'll be alive. It's just I don't, man. I want Janine out too. I really want Janine out. I think she should go out.
And June tried to help her, but June just couldn't get her.
Well, no, June tried to help her, and then there was that big explosion, and she lost Janine.
Bomb.
She couldn't even find Janine, and there was only a split second for her to either stay or go. That's all she could do. She could not. But
Janine sees it as she left her.
I don't quite know. Because at first she was saying June would never do that to Lydia, and then Lydia kind of like convinced her a little bit. Head. Yeah, I don't think she believes it entirely, though. I think they kind of understand that it is at a certain point you can help each other to a certain line, and then at a certain line they have to either cross it themselves or not. And sometimes you're not able to cross it, but do you expect your fellow resistance fighters to not cross it, right? And I think Janine understands that, like, June had to go.
Right. But Lydia's just so manipulative because let me tell you the feelings I had about Lydia.
She's a Munchausen by proxy mother.
When they're at the house, right? When they're at the house having Fred's thing, eating the little sandwiches and the bloody meat. Lydia comes in, right? Yeah. And I can't stand Lydia. I cannot stand her.
And now it's another one. I want to like her so much. I want to.
Part of me was like, oh, look, it's Lydia. Hi, Lydia, because I don't know. I'm conflicted with her because I really don't think, she's awful. Yeah. But I could see the potential for her to be good. Yes. But she was thrown aback when he said, whatever his name is, hi, Aunt. And she said, Lydia.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't know who she was.
And that's what she does. I think that's just a really good testament to the actresses again, right? Because she is so good at delivering those very motherly, like grandmotherly, like soft-spoken lines and like patting the hair and like putting her hand like gently on the shoulder or something. And I'm like, you could be so good. You could do something. But then she has that snake bite still. Right. Like she does.
But I just wonder, do you think she would ever be part of helping them?
No. I don't think she would ever. We saw her background, and her background, she wanted to. Right. She was into this. This was a thing that she very much championed. Just like Serena Joy, where it's like we really want to like Serena Joy, and we see all the potential. And Serena Joy even what did she did something with Nicole, right? Where she let Nicole go?
She handed Nicole. She gave.
I need to go back and watch it again because I sometimes
we do need to go back and watch it again.
Bleeds together a little bit.
Aaron is starting it. Aaron and Dylan are going to start it now. So now I think
it's sort of the same thing where it's like they are most benefited from. They're almost kind of the same characters. Like they both have positions of power, and like, do they want to let that power go? Probably not. You know, I think Emily is going to kill Lydia. I think that's where we're headed with Lydia's storyline, and I think Serena Joy. I don't know what the hell's going to happen with Serena Joy, but I don't know. We better not.
Well, I mean, we've got this season, and then we've got another season. So.
And these seasons are like almost 2 years spaced out because we didn't get it. It's been over a year since the last one. I think this is a show that really works when they do it week to week because you can digest, and it is a show that needs to be digested. It deals with really dark subject matter, but it is so good and it is so wonderful, and I would watch it till.
I just have a hard time because, like I told Aaron this morning, I was really excited about doing this with you because I feel like I get to talk about it and process it. Versus outside of you, I only know one other person that watches it. I feel like that too. So I don't get to talk about it, and no one in my house understands how important it is for me to talk about it because it's just, I mean, you either like it or you don't. Mm-hmm. And I've tried to get other people on it, and everyone says it's just too dark. It's just too dark for me.
Which is fair, and I understand that for some people. I get it, you know. But darkness usually, like especially with TV and movies, darkness helps me to process my own stuff. And like I don't really relate to much of this, but like I understand the nuances of the characters, and that helps me, right? Where it's like, oh, well, the way you deal with something is not the way this person deals with something, and those messages really work for me, you know.
Right.
So it just, I don't know, it's like whatever you're able to digest. Some people live really miserable fucking lives and don't feel like turning on the TV and watching June's close-ups for an hour, you know? I just don't want that.
I guess. I don't understand it. I don't
Yeah.
understand why I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you ever you love a show so much and you just want everyone to watch it and you want
Yeah.
everyone to love it
All
and
the
they
time.
don't, and then
Buffy
I'm
the Vampire
disappointed.
Slayer. I wish everybody would watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer because it deals with human reaction and all of these things so well. Like there's an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer called The Body where her mom dies, and I watch that over and over again because it is the most realistic thing I've ever seen that deals with death. In this supernatural show that deals with all of the supernatural things all the time, right? And it is just one of the best episodes of television. I do want to remark just before we're done that the second episode, which I thought was phenomenal, especially the funeral scene and
me
the
too.
duality of that, was directed by Elizabeth Moss, and she always
Yep.
does the best episodes in this show. I think she is one of the best directors that they could get for this.
I don't
What are you
know.
looking forward to for this season? What are you hoping happens?
I mean,
Because we're never
I
going to
want-
guess it. That's not. We're not by the end of it. We're not going to have anything
I
predicted.
definitely want Luke to go into Gilead. I want Luke. I mean, obviously, he's not going to get to see and experience the things that she did, but I want him. I think it'll be important for him to go in to kind of see maybe this is why my wife is the way she is because we can see it on TV or hear about it, but we can't actually experience it.
Yeah.
Just seeing these things like the handmaids walking intos and I mean, I know he's not going to get to experience people on the wall and stuff like that, but to have to stone somebody, or I don't know, I just want him to be able to go and sort of see her experience a little bit. But there's also Nick. Oh, and Nick's wife.
Nick's wife, whatever.
Who is she?
Was she a wife? Somebody? I don't know. I feel like she'll end up playing some important role in the show at some point where she's either going to tattle.
All about it.
She'll either tattle or she'll get out herself or something like that, right? Or Nick will help her get out, or I don't know. Something is going to happen with that. I feel like
because
bubbling.
She knew about it. She knew about what June did, and so I don't know. That was all kind of weird to me. So I think there's something there that we're going to see later on. So I don't know.
I really just want I want June to be acknowledged for the imperfect person that she is. I want people to I like what you said is maybe Luke going in there and saying, "Oh my God, I hope Luke doesn't die in there."
No.
That's not something I considered, but it's. I don't know. I think it's going to be a pretty wild season. I think it's going to be a little bit more actiony than the last season too. Actually, the last season was filmed in COVID, right? So they kind of had to keep it a little bit more muted. It was June's first escape. We really had to process the through June's inner monologue. And I feel like this one is a lot more external.
Escape. Her first actual get out escape.
And I wonder how this is going to wrap up because they always have a wild season finale, and especially if they're going into one more season, this is going to be the biggest cliffhanger they've probably had.
I know.
I guarantee it. I don't know if anything can beat the airplane finale though. I think
that
the
was
airplane
my favorite.
I wept. I bawled. I could not stop crying.
Me too. That was my favorite episode ever. But I have to tell you, this season, I was a little bit disappointed in you because I felt like, here it is. It's on. We're ready. We know the date. I had talked to you that day and I forgot to even say anything about it. You and I had talked about other stuff and I'd forgotten about it. So I text you about it and you're like, yeah. And then I'm trying to talk to you about it and you're like, we haven't watched it yet. Are you kidding me? You went to the movies
I'm running
instead?
3 podcasts. It is very difficult to keep up on all of this content.
You were like, we're going to the movies today.
Because I had to go see content for what I'm covering for my Bloody Judy. Well, now I have a show with my mother. We're going to call it Gen Z Reacts to the Handmaid's Tale. And I will this is on Wednesdays, right? So we'll probably have these episodes out Thursday or something like that. Pretty close, pretty close to it. It'll be an after show. But I don't know. We want to know your thoughts on The Handmaid's Tale. I don't know if this will be video every time. We're gonna see. Maybe it'll be audio every time. The video hasn't worked out bad for you, has it?
No, I was a little nervous about it because I had a late night. It's,
She was playing cornhole. Guys, she had a cornhole tournament, okay? She's not out at the bars in Austin, Texas and getting drunk on the 6th Street.
that still makes a late night.
Your shirt looks like a Confederate flag.
No, it doesn't.
I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
It's a
I'm
rainbow.
Joking. I'm joking. It's just a gaze. It's just I'm going on coffee and tequila. Faggotry.
Shut up.
Yeah, so we'll be back every week with this, and we always want to know your thoughts. We always want to know your comments, opinions. This is technically a Coffee and Tequila show, so you can go to the Coffee and Tequila Instagram and comment there. You can send us both messages. All right, guys, we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.